Evening folks, welcome to today's episode of Crushed Custard. Now we've got 3 random albums today, been generated by the random number generator, so 3 numbers selected, and those numbers were selected by Mr. Andrew Rackham, who is the lead violinist of the Roachford Philharmonic Orchestra. Among many other things, he's an all-round good chap, and he's made some interesting selections today, which I believe have got very, very few, if any, Deep Purple connections. So I don't think we've quite managed none, because we can just about connect at least one of the bands to Deep Purple. But anyway, the first selection today is a CD. But before we go into that, I'll just explain to you that it's a bit of an experiment today. You may be wondering, there's something wrong with your TV or laptop or something if you're watching it, because I'm in colour, everything behind me is in black and white. Well, I've got this new gizmo camera phone thing, and I'm having a bit of an experiment, and it's got all these effects on it, so I'm seeing if they work. So expect a few wacky sort of things over the next few days, but today you should be seeing me and my shirt in glorious Technicolor and everything behind me in black and white. So we'll see how that comes out. Anyway, back to the reason we're all here really, which is the music, and the 3 albums selected today by Mr. Andrew Rackham. Well, the first one is a CD, and he's sort of half picked his namesake, because he's picked a chap called Andrew Roachford, to be precise. This was the very first album put out by Roachford way back in 1988. Now, you're probably, some of you will be able to cast your minds back. Big hit single off this called Cuddly Toy, insanely catchy, propelled him to sort of superstardom almost overnight, I suppose. It had been released already, that single, and that had bombed and done nothing. And then it got re-released and got quite high in the chart. And he then went on to put out a ton of other great albums through the 90s and whatever, and eventually ended up in Mike and the Mechanics, did a couple of albums with them, Mike Rutherford from Genesis, of course, and a couple of years ago put an album out with Beverly Knight as well, which did exceptionally well. So it's still going strong. This is an album well worth checking out. Cuddly Toy will be easy to find on YouTube if you've not heard it. Go and have a listen to it, and then explore the Andrew Roachford catalogue a bit further if you can. Really, really talented singer. And that's from 1988, today's first selection, Roachford. Onto the vinyl next, and the first one is connected to an album that we looked at the other day. Blind Faith the other day was Steve Winwood's in Blind Faith, of course. Steve Winwood came from Traffic. Who was the drummer in Traffic? It was this chap, Jim Capaldi. Now, Jim Capaldi is a far better singer than most singers, as well as being a drummer, and he put out a stack of solo albums in the 70s and the 80s, possibly into the 90s. Really good. I would probably describe them as sort of radio-friendly AOR type sort of stuff. Good, solid songs with catchy choruses, and always an absolute stellar cast of top-quality musicians. So there's all sorts of people on this. Carlos Santana's on this, Simon Kirk's on it, Steve Marriott's on it. There's all sorts of people on it. And even the comedian Kenny Lynch doing a bit of backing vocals, apparently. So that's interesting to spot as well. So some of these albums not that well known by many people, but I'm sure you can probably track some tracks down from this on YouTube. I don't think they're all that difficult to get hold of a record first on discs, either probably without costing an absolute fortune. But there's a good dozen or so Jim Capaldi solo albums, and they're all worth tracking down. The earlier ones and some great music as well. Kossoff was on one of his first solo albums, so you can see how far back we're going. And also, probably his biggest hit was a track called Love Hurts as well, which is interesting, because that's got to lead us neatly onto the third section. Amazing how these things work out. How sort of, I don't know how many records and albums we've got here, 2,000-3,000 something probably, and we can find a way to connect them. Jim Capaldi, the second choice today. Well, the third choice that came out randomly, remember, from Andrew's numbers, a band called Nazareth. This album's called The Catch, which came out in 1984. I hope I don't get banned by YouTube for the racy cover. Maybe I ought to show you the other side for a bit and keep them off my back. But of course, Nazareth recorded Love Hurts, Jim Capaldi recorded Love Hurts, both did pretty well with it, so that connects the two up. And Nazareth, of course, are loosely connected with Deep Purple because Roger Glover used to produce some of their albums and they were a regular support act for Deep Purple in the 70s. Now, one of the sad things about this album is that 3 of the 4 musicians on it are no longer with us. Dan McCafferty, the vocalist, Manny Charlton, the guitar player, both of whom died last year. Also, Daryl Sweet and Pete Agnew on this as well. I think Pete Agnew's the only one still alive. So, that's pretty sad. And of course, Jim Capaldi from the album before is no longer with us either. So, sort of sad element to today's Crushed Custard, and the fact that so many musicians are now departing the planet, luckily for us, and leaving behind some great music. This Nazareth album it's a classic Nazareth album, really. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's good. If you like Nazareth, you like Nazareth. You like the throaty vocals of Dan McCafferty. There's a great version of Ruby Tuesday on here as well, if you're a Rolling Stones fan. So there's today's 3 albums. It's short, it's sharp, we've got on with it quick today because we were worried about waffling on too much the other day, and we've got a lot to do. So anyway, there we go. So that's it. Nazareth, album number 3. Nazareth, The Catch from 1984. Jim Capaldi, One Man Mission, and Roachford, debut album from 1988. Go and check those 3 out. See what you can find on YouTube. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you all next time. See you later.